Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want to live fully embodied, nervous system regulated, open-hearted, radiant, and alive. Here we explore the practices, modalities, and lived rhythms that return you to yourself, to your heart, to your body, your intuition, and your divine spark. This podcast is for women who are ready to awaken their inner creatrix, activate their inner manifester, and remember, an ecstatic life isn't a destination. It's the path we're walking together. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I have a very exciting guest here today. I'm here with Marian Bacol, and she is the founder of Somarae, which is an AI-powered somatic wellness platform helping people regulate their nervous systems and reconnect with their bodies through emotionally intelligent, personalized support. She is also a trauma-informed coach, a TEDx speaker, a global retreat host, and her work is rooted in the belief that true power begins with feeling safe, supported, and at home within yourself. And welcome. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on your podcast.
I especially would love to center this conversation around something that you have just recently started talking about in your social media, and which we share a common origin story with, which is actually overcoming and healing sexual trauma. So I know that that is a very deep and, fragile place sometimes to start.
Yes, no, I'm actually very open about all of this. Doing a lot of the work, especially the somatic work. And I shared about this in my TEDx talk in 2018. So I've been talking about it. And then the last few years, I feel like it goes through waves. When I initially started talking about it, and then I didn't want to always just talk about that because there were so many other things. And I think then the Me Too movement came out and I talked about it again. And then other things, because I also talk about tech and because to talk about just one thing, especially that's really heavy, it's all about also play and all this. And I think the reason why I'm talking about it again is because of all the Epstein files, I felt like I had to share because it's so viscerally when I started hearing that. I mean, I had to use a lot of my somatic practices again because it is triggering, but now I have the tools to versus back before I learned all this, my coping mechanisms were drugs and alcohol, So I just have better tools. It doesn't make everything go away, but now I know how to bring my body back into safety.
Yes, I literally just did a post about this right before we jumped on. In the healing journey, there isn't some magical gold star, is how I put it, on the map where you reach that and bing, we're healed. It's a continuous journey. And I see it as an ascending spiral, really. We come back around to things. And I love that you're coming back around to this right now because there was the whole thing with the 62 million men visiting that website. And that really triggered me, actually. So I did also have to use some of my own tools. And we do similar work in the world, although you're honestly, you're the coach that I want to grow up to be because I'm a little baby coach that just got started.
And right somewhere.
Yes. So right before I've met you, which was just a week ago, I had actually committed to starting an online platform to put all of my somatic practices, have weekly embodiment calls and, daily posts in an online platform. And so when I saw what you were building, what you have just, launched, I was like, oh, wow. You're definitely the person I want to grow up to be. So
yeah, thank you. And I think we actually need more practitioners, coaches, facilitators to do this work. I always say, why are there not more facilitators, healers, people who do this work who are wildly more successful than all the sales and business and all the other type of coaches, right? Because I think this is so important. And I think sometimes we have it backwards. So yeah, and then there's so much I could talk about that too. But in in your question originally, do you want to kind of have me share the story of how that sort of came to be? Or is there anything in particular that you want me to dive into? Because there's just so much.
I really love a good backstory. So
Mhm.
if you want to give my audience a little of the context,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yes. So I don't know if you can see the screen, but I'm Filipino, proudly Filipino. This is like a pre-colonial indigenous like tribal tattoo.
Beautiful.
But growing up in an Asian family as the eldest daughter, you are not allowed to talk about emotions. You kind of push things down. And I had a very traumatic childhood, actually. And, but you put a face on, you're supposed to just keep on going. And I checked off all the boxes. I excelled well in school, did the thing that you're taught you're supposed to. And coming from an Asian family, you were supposed to end up becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, like, the typical things. My mom was a nurse and then went into management. My dad was an engineer. They were kind of, they follow the path. And I was actually pre-med in college and then shifted majors, didn't tell my parents, and then ended up doing marketing. And I climbed up the corporate ladder and did all the things. And in 2014, when on the outside, it may have looked like everything was perfect because I was living in LA at that time where I grew up. I had a great career, making great money, the six figures or, people attain to these numbers. Marketing director. I also had like an agency. I went to all the top parties, events, like all the things. I was traveling. I was actually in the darkest parts of my life. So professionally it was all here. Personally was not. And in April 2014, my niece and nephew, 6 and 8 months babies, both passed away within a week from each other. So it was like extra, like just layers of so many things happening. And it was that time where I actually on a night partying and I was like, what is even the meaning of all this? And I was a type to like push myself. And I did. I overdosed and had a near-death experience. An out-of-body near-death experience that was my wake-up call. Because looking back, my body, spirit was telling me like, hey, you need to slow down, something needs to change, but I didn't listen to it until I literally almost died. And I had an out-of-body experience. I saw myself basically convulsing, getting put in a body bag. I went to my funeral. I went back to source. I saw counsel, all of these things. So many things happen. And it's hard to condense a little bit because it's similar to journeying with Mother Ayahuasca. It's like you go through several lifetimes, all this information kind of condensed. But ultimately, I was given a choice.
What I've heard about these out-of-body experiences, these NDEs, is that they are more real than real life a lot of times too. So you remember it in immaculate detail.
Yes. I remember getting blasted off. I remember the counsel. I remember seeing everything, kind of doing this like life review. And I remember being given a choice to come back or not. And I just knew that it wasn't my time. It wasn't like I needed to come back, even though I was like, do I really want to? But at that time, I made a choice to come back. And after that wild experience, I was like, what the hell just happened to me? I ended up like knowing the one thing I knew though, even though all those things happened, was that I needed to leave LA because the source of all of my anxiety, stress, which I found out later on was CPTSD, was my family, because my father was the one who had sexually abused me my whole life. And, I had kind of like put that away. And at that time I had to move. I had left. He had abused me since I was a child. He had physically and emotionally, mentally abused me since I first met him at 5, which was a crazy backstory because I didn't know my parents until I was 5, like meet them in person. I was raised by my grandmother and some aunts in the Philippines. And when I moved to the US, I was like, surprise for your parents. So that was also very traumatic, something I had to unpack in a totally different way. And then the physical abuse. And then I remember I was 10 when I got my period is when he started to sexually abuse me until I left. My escape was college. Like I knew that I had to leave the house. And it was about, I think it was around 20, like almost 10 years later where I had to move back because I got a job that was closer. I was driving too much and I was trying to save money, and just being back in that house, living there and like trying to push everything down, my body was fighting me. And so I knew I had to leave. I bought a one-way ticket. I moved from LA to Miami with literally no job, no plans, nothing. I just knew that, you know what? I had not been listening to my intuition, and it's finally time that I did. Even though I had I was like, this is the time to finally, just follow these, because I have a very strong intuition, but I'd always stuff it down. Always. Because you're taught to gaslight yourself, right? Like your body literally is going on alarm, but you're taught to like, no, you contain yourself, you disassociate, you do all the things. And that was the first time I was like, I will, whatever this crazy idea, I'm going to do it. I already died. I'm going to do it. And in Miami, which I later found out in my astrocartography is a place that like really help is like great for like my expansion and growth, is when I finally dove into all the things that I had buried deep. I got deep into just personal growth, healing. I have kind of an obsessive personality as a Gemini sun and rising. Like I soak in knowledge, so I became very obsessed. And listening to all the podcasts, coaches, mentors, worked with plant medicines, psychedelics, worked with shamans, medicine women, meditated, ended up getting certified in pranayama, breathwork, and meditation. I would meditate for hours, but I still realized that even though I'd meditate for hours, in real life, I would get triggered. And I couldn't understand why at that time still. I was like, I am doing all this. And I was like, when I went down the spiritual, call it rabbit hole, where I would only wear white, I was vegan, vegetarian for 3 years, like all the things you're supposed to, right? That like everything is good and pure type of spirituality that I had first gotten into. I can meditate. Like I wanted to leave to go to an ashram and all of these. I wanted to disconnect from like real life. Right. I started exploring like, why was I still like knowing all this? What was my body still like fighting? And that's how I started just researching. It was around the same time that I started diving deeper into decolonization work. So like working with my ancestors and really realizing that our ancestors were in their bodies. They moved more, they sounded more. I started finding about embodiment, somatic work. And that to me was like, the fact that, well, like what? Instead of sitting in silence, moving, letting it all out, releasing, like this was to me the most life-changing thing. And I loved it so much. I got certified in, somatics, trauma-informed coaching, and through that journey, just was sharing organically. And that's how I got into coaching. I never knew coaching was a career. I just started seeing people and I hired coaches and I worked with them. And I'm like, I could also do this. And that's kind of what I came into the path, because I was just sharing and people were asking me questions and like asking me the same thing. And so that's kind of how that community started. And in this process, that was like 12 years ago. Last year, really, with my coaching clients, I noticed a trend that even though I would share tools, simple tools, right? Orienting, breath work, people tend to not do it at that time. It's like drinking more water. We know it's good for us, but yet people don't do it. It's in the consistent micro practices in daily life. We know to take a step back. Doing conscious breathing, breath work, moving, shaking, literally doesn't take that much. Clients are like, wow, we did it only for 1 minute and I feel better. I'm like, it doesn't take a lot. Your body really is so responsive. And I started noticing that they needed more additional support. And I actually started looking for an app. I wanted to give them additional support that would help them. And the more that I researched, the more I was like, there's nothing that I felt I could, with integrity, recommend to them. Nothing felt what's the word? Like, not just trauma informed, but I didn't feel safe. Most of the apps were still like in this masculine, like you got to hustle and do like kind of energy. And most of the wellness apps out there were still meditation, mind focus instead of body, and were founded by men. So they did not integrate. I had been cycle syncing for almost a decade now, like really just working with cycles and like really knowing about my body and like in tuning that way. And now research has shown that, of course, our hormones play a huge part in our regulation, and we're cyclical beings and all of this stuff, even perimenopause, menopause. And because I'm just someone that like one follows and leads with intuition, I am tech savvy. I used to be marketing for a tech company. I resisted it for a while, and then I would keep having dreams about it. I would get download. I'm like, okay, yes, I'll do it. And so I decided to build the app, because one thing about my guides and spirit, my intuition, when they know I'm supposed to do it, they will not leave me alone. It's like, nope. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm comfortable coaching, like making good money, like things are good. And it just was like, no, like bigger, like you need to get out, like you need to, I had an ego death about it. It was like, it's not about you anymore. You need to build something that's bigger than you. And so that's how Somarae was born. It's personalized, so it's two-pronged. You can literally open the app, talk to our AI somatic guy that's trauma informed about like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm pissed off, I'm whatever, and we'll give you a science-backed micro practice to help you self-regulate. So it's these bits of micro, so that, and then you go on with your day, and it really supports you in that. And then we have a community focus for online and in-person events, because I truly believe that we want more in-person connection, belonging, and we can co-regulate so much better as a collective. That's kind of
100%
all of this.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I downloaded the free 30-day trial so that I could give it a try, Somarae, before we got on the call, so I could give it a try. And so I have had clients and friends who turn to ChatGPT for advice about things. And I have had hesitations or reservations about this because it is not trauma informed. And
Yes.
it will mold things in the way reality. It will mold things that it gets off the internet in a way that will that they think will be best taken by you. So kind of your voice, and it kind of regurgitates that back to you.
Yep.
So in that way, I feel like it can create a loop, a feedback loop. And so
Yes.
I have been hesitant about that. But what I found from your AI system, what I found from Somarae, was that it was just really simple and straightforward. And it got to the point of what I needed in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through a couple of rounds with it, and it was really fun to use. And
Thank you.
so I was impressed. Yeah.
Yeah. So to get a little tech nerdy about it, yes, a lot of people have been using that. But the thing with Chat, Claude, all of that, it's just so broad, right? Because it's meant to like, it's like the World Wide Web. It's like you Googling something, whatever you want, it'll give you what you want. It's contained where in tech terms, it's rag trained. So it can only, we load it with specific studies, specific guardrails. There's only things, every study in Somarae, there's a somatic library. So there's like, if there's there's articles and the research back paper that you can read that talks about that. So it's a contained system that's what it does. And it doesn't veer off. There's like, if anyone has any, like suicide ideations or other things, we do not diagnose. We prompt them to call for help and other things. It is very purposely done so that it does that. Because if you go on Chat or Claude, it'll just give you so many things. And like you said, it likes to reinforce instead of really give science-backed, trauma-informed, specific micro practices. And that's what separates it, because we had spent hours and lots of data to make sure that it is in that format. And we're constantly tweaking. Like as we learn more, there's more studies, more books, we're always like, training and doing that. But it's been a lot of work to really get it specific to the needs of, what people need for nervous system regulation and somatics.
Yeah, it's really cool because you can just have it in your back pocket. And as I was saying at the very beginning, I am wanting to create a platform where people can kind of have me in their back pocket, right? But I'm only available when I'm available. So this is a way that you can get your specific questions addressed in real time, your specific problem addressed in real time, which I found to be really cool because sometimes, as you were saying before, yeah, we need to drink more water. We know we need to be drinking more water, or we know we need to do whatever XYZ healthy thing it is. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times in the moment, it is harder to access when we are dysregulated. So if we are experiencing the dysregulation, even accessing those tools that we know we should be doing becomes harder. And I
Yeah.
was just having a conversation with a friend of mine this morning, like, I did a free somatic experience with my community this morning on Zoom, and she's like, "Yeah, but nobody goes back and does them, right?" And I'm like, "That's the problem," because when you're in that group setting, and I feel that community, especially in person, really has magic. I am an
Yep.
ecstatic dance facilitator, and the
Love it.
magic you
Mm-hmm.
can co-create in a
Mm-hmm.
space like that is you can't replicate that. There's something about
Mm-hmm.
sharing the energy in the space, right?
Yeah.
But to have something that you can turn to in the moment when you can't access that, when you can't access your teacher, when you can't access um, you know, someone that has all that knowledge, I think is excuse me, I think is super, super helpful. So yeah, I find it really cool. I did have a question. So this is, you said you'd struggled with getting into this. You were kind of pushing back, like hearing your guides, hearing the universe say, hey, go this direction. Did you struggle with any of the ethics, the ethical questions regarding AI right now? Was that part of that decision?
Yes. And not really, I don't want to say struggle, but I really thought deeply about it. And the conclusion I came to is that AI tech is not going away. It's just like social media isn't going, the internet isn't going away. This is the evolution of technology. I think it is imperative that we have more heart-centered, intentional people creating it because AI learns from us than ever before. Otherwise, the same tech bros who created patriarchal systems will perpetuate it. So when I really thought, and I actually meditate on this, I did, my processes, talk to, like the goddess, and they're like, no, that's why I host, free, like I teach women how to vibe code, because I believe that women actually have much more intentionality. All the female founders that I've met, what they're creating always has it's bigger than them. They really not only solve a problem, but they intend to come with it more intentionality. They believe in it more. They want to help others. It's more like uplifting. And I think if we really want to change the systems, we need to create new ones. So with me creating Somarae, I'm creating it with the intention and the values and belief system of actually matriarchal beliefs. So collective care, giving back to the community, to be, what is it? Community collaboration. We are purpose driven with our mission is helping 1 billion people become more regulated, radiant, and reconnected to their bodies. And through this, we're applying to be a certified B Corp. So in our financial structure, we set aside a certain amount of our profits to recirculate to offer free services to marginalized communities, veterans, first responders, like all these things. 1 billion people doesn't mean 1 billion paying people. It's just really helping 1 billion people. So these are things that we think about. And if we're not the ones creating and using AI, it's going to get created. Might as well be created and lifted up, with being human centered, with having this intentionality. And that's why after really coming to that and getting that clarity, that download, I've been so much more, really vocal about it because it does come up and people are like, the water, the wastage. Yes. With all new technologies, like think about what happened in the Industrial Revolution. Our pollution was horrible, our factories, all of it. But as we progress, we are able to contain it, to do better. There's people now looking for different solutions to take up less energy. They're, using different types, free energy, other types of energy, so that we can utilize this tech with less to be less extractive. It's not perfect by any means, but with AI, I think we can get the solutions to solve problems a lot faster. And I think the ones creating it, having more heart-centered, intentional people creating with AI will move it in that direction. Otherwise, it'll be created by the same systems that, exploit us, which is the patriarchal systems. And I see it because tech is still heavily male.
Yeah. And
so
when people
it's
talk
just going to
about
perpetuate.
Yep. And when people talk about, is AI going to turn evil? Well, it is a reflection of us. And so the more we input, and it probably sounds really silly, but I'm going to say it out loud. Every time I use chat or Claude or anything like that, I'm very polite.
Oh, yeah, you too.
Because it is a reflection of us. And so what we are putting in there, it is giving us back. And so the more, people like you, I am not a tech person. That is not my forte at all. I have a hard enough time trying to figure out Zoom. So not my field. But actually, and that brings me to a pivot I would like to do. I would love to hear more about what you do in person, because I feel like that personally for me is where I really shine, is in bringing that energy into an in-person space. So, and I feel like that is so uniquely human. People are like, oh, AI is going to take over everything, take all the jobs. It's like, no, there are things that you can only do in a human body. So, and that space holding and that energy creation, creating a container for people in a sacred space that way is something that only can be done by humans. So
yeah. And you're absolutely right. 1000%. And I feel like since I've created Somarae, I've doubled down on that even more, because it is so important. Yes, self-regulation, that's good. You help and you can have it at any time. And there's just this magic and not just magic, but energetically, when you're around other people, you literally start, people call it woo, but science now proves that you vibrate at the same frequency. Your coherence matches. There is collective coherence in our vibrational states when we are in a place that we feel safe, that we can release, we can let go, we can, really move our bodies. It's so transformative. So I've actually been doing more events now than I have before, because to explain, I think somatics is still really new to people's vocabularies. It's, I think it's where, yoga, meditation, even Pilates 10, 15 years ago weren't as common as it is today. Now everyone knows what it is. Somatics too. Somatics, nervous system regulation, fairly new. Like, we know about it because it's our field, but you talk about it to the rest of the population and they don't know what it is. Even though it's ancient wisdom, like our ancestors move their bodies. It's just a different way of, there's a new label to it. But so there's a lot of education that needs to still be done. And I don't want people to mentally think about it. I want them to feel it. Because you can only tell someone so much about no, get out of your head and just get into your bodies. It's actually why in my in-person events, especially the somatic experiencing type of events, I have people put eye masks on. We blindfold people so that they don't look at everyone else, because some of the moves, if you look, you're like, I don't want to do it. That looks silly, or people are, they're like, why am I doing this shaking? This is weird. Or, they're like, for people who aren't used to it, they're like, they hold back. I'm like, don't look at anyone else. Go in and just feel what your body wants for you to release. And that's been such a game changer. People love that. And yeah, they're like, now I get it. I've had so many people who followed me and then come to my event and be like, I didn't get what you were talking about, but now I do. Like, yeah, because you experience it. You couldn't mentally think about it, but you experience it in your body. And it's like, oh, I remember.
That's why I try to drag all of my friends and everyone else that I love to ecstatic dance. I'm like, no, you just don't understand. They're like, you get together with a bunch of strangers and you don't talk or drink alcohol, but you dance like you're in a club. But you also do weird things like crawl around on the floor and like roar like a lion. And
Sounds
that's
like a party to
therapeutic.
me.
I'm like,
I love
yes,
that.
you gotta go.
Yeah, we actually end our sessions if we on a depending on what the theme is on a high note on dancing because like put these moves together and just feel it with the music, and so many studies now have shown that dancing is one of the best ways to not only regulate your nervous system but actually healing. It reduces anxiety and depression more than sitting meditation. Like there is just something about releasing all of that. And I just saw on Instagram, there were like something about like raves and dancing. And it makes me smile because when I was in high school and I was suicidal, I found raving at 13. My cousin took me and I loved it. That was a time I
Same.
felt so free to just like, I would sweat and dance. I didn't know at that time that I was somatically releasing all the trauma that was happening in my body. I was like, I love it. And so I don't go to as many raves and festivals as I would like. I still love the energy, but sometimes with too many people, I can feel it a lot, but I still dance. I still put house music on. I dance, I stomp. It's amazing.
Yeah, so same for me. It was at 14, but I didn't know at the time. I didn't know why it felt so good, but and now I do. And you can get that same vibe. What the thing that I love about the ecstatic dance community is it is sober, and so you
Hmm.
can get that same vibe from the club, from the rave, but it's in this container of other like there's no worry about getting hit on or, somebody having any intentions like that. So it's a really
Yeah.
safe container
Yes.
for something.
Yeah. All of our Somarae events are sober events. I personally don't think alcohol should be served at wellness events. I know that's a hot take. I've said that before, but I mean, if you drink or you want to drink, like go for it. But it's counterintuitive to health and wellness.
I agree. I mean, I'd
Mhm.
still there's a time for that, I guess, if I'm at a wedding or something like that, but
Yeah, for sure.
but definitely not at a health and wellness retreat.
Yeah. Like it just doesn't like so if you're saying health and wellness, literally the effects of alcohol on your body, even just like there's just so much knowledge and research that we know about it now. And I'm saying this as someone who used to be an alcoholic and a heavy drinker and drinking for the wrong reasons. And I was also in the hospitality industry. So I actually love the taste of certain spirits and cocktails. Like I can enjoy it, but for a health and wellness event, it just does not make sense to me.
No, and it's a
Yeah.
vibrational thing. So we talk about energy. Alcohol
Mhm.
is a lower vibrational substance, and you talked about going on healing journeys through ayahuasca and other medicine ceremonies. And there is a time and a place to engage in various substances to change our state. And breath work, I have found, can be, just as powerful as some of the hallucinogenic substances. I mean, you can really, really change your state with
Mhm.
some deep breathwork practice. But there is a time and a place in a
Yeah.
controlled environment for a specific purpose to change our states in those ways. But
Mhm.
yeah, when we're in it for even just with the ecstatic dances, like we're there for the healing and the consciousness. And being intoxicated with alcohol is more dissociation. And that's why that was my drug of choice as well, because after my
Yeah.
sexual assault, I didn't want to be in my body. It was
Mhm.
painful to be in my body. And
Mhm.
so finding something that would just take that, numb that feeling
Mhm.
and let me
Yeah.
get a little bit further away from myself. And
Yeah.
alcohol was definitely, and I can engage with alcohol, now occasionally without having any sort of, disassociation. But for me, before I started my healing practices, that was the way I would choose to leave my body. And what we're
Yeah.
doing now with these somatic practices is the opposite. We're getting into our bodies. We're going deeper into our bodies. So, do you want to talk? You're much deeper into this journey than I am. So, you want to talk about that some?
Yeah. Well, about somatics and sort of the
Yes,
process.
somatics in embodiment coming into our body, what that actually looks like. So for those people who are out there listening who are like, somatics, what? Like this is a new term or a fairly new term, or they don't really fully understand it. Like how would you describe it?
Yes. So somatics is a new word that comes from the word soma. In Greek means body, living vessel. So your soma, so you're literally our bodies. And for so long, like really in modern history, we've been taught to like just focus on our heads, right? It's been very like mental in our minds, and our bodies are, especially in Western world, it's like, oh, it's just there. When people call it's a meat suit, actually, it's one of the most intelligent, like magical, like the processes that our bodies go through at a cellular level, at everything, at all the systems. We are advanced technology. Talk about AI. We're like quantum. This is beyond quantum AI. Like the human body, literally, at every millisecond is changing, adapting, growing, new. We're entire universes inside of our systems. Like it is magical, right? Like, but we haven't been taught that in Western society. It's kind of like mind over everything. So we've been taught to disassociate, to numb, to not listen to our body. You know, when people feel something in their body, what do? They talk themselves out of it, right? They convince themselves that they don't see it. They gaslight themselves that it's not that bad until their body's literally screaming and they're already at a point of like really difficult diseases, health problems, all of that stuff. So somatics is an overarching term that really means body-based intentionality, where you really go into your body, you listen to it, and there's this intentional mind-body connection of feeling all the different parts of it. And so somatics is an umbrella of body-based intentionality. So it could be, shaking, and there's different practices. It could be tapping. It could be moving breath work. It could be dancing. But it's with that intentionality. And in the practices, it's really about being sovereign in your body. So everyone's experience is different, right? So you can guide someone. What I do is I guide someone into like, okay, what is your body trying to tell you? To really get out of their heads, because you can convince yourself of something else and really truly listen. And it's a practice. And the more that you listen, our body actually talks to us so much. Our body, our cells, carry so many stories, not just from us, but also from past generations. Trauma can live. There's various types of trauma. There's personal trauma. There's collective trauma. There's ancestral generational trauma that literally lives in our DNA. And this has been proven through epigenetic studies, and when we keep it all in, our body keeps the score, but it also keeps the story, in our fascia, in our muscles, all of these things, because it's energy. When we go through trauma, pain, all these things, it gets stored in our bodies and it manifests in so many different ways. So somatics helps you really identify where it is in your body and then be able to intentionally release it, to move it, I think of it as, people always know it as a blood clot, right? In your vessels, in your blood vessels. I remember like the pictures, right? There's like a blood clot, and then a lot of things can happen if you have a blood clot. You can have a heart attack, you can have an aneurysm, all these things. The same thing with certain experiences that we have of trauma. They get stored in our body and they can manifest as pain, as different types of autoimmune disease, as other things. And when they actually address the root of it and the story behind it, right, and we shift the story, then we can really release it from our bodies. It's powerful. And I keep saying magical, but it's energetic, it's magical, it's powerful. And I think it just has to be experienced. Yeah, because the body is so intelligent and it is always talking to us in all the ways. And when we start listening to it, we're able to really attune to the stories that our bodies keep. Like I've had clients when we go through our sessions, what's coming up for them is they're feeling something maybe in their neck and their shoulders. And, I invite them to speak to that part of their bodies and then like what comes out, but what's underneath that? And then you'll find the stories that are underneath that. And then what's underneath that even more. And they find out it's something that happened, when they were 5 and this happened and this got stored in their body. And it's so wild. And they're like, wow, I've had stories where some like, oh, this is actually where, I felt this, and it's not just me. This is something that came from my mother or my grandmother or my matriarch line. There's just so many things that are stored in our bodies that we finally can move through somatics.
Yeah. And it is our bodies in their infinite wisdom that store this to protect us, because a lot of times our psyches cannot handle it, especially these things that happen to us as children,
Yeah.
and so it is compartmentalized. And these things, I mean, something that's, you think of like a tumor, right? Compartmentalized. It's been encapsulated and it's been stored in a way so it doesn't hurt the rest of your body. And so our bodies in their infinite wisdom might say, we can't deal with this. We can't process this. Our nervous system can't handle, this experience at this time. And so we put it away in a spot. And if it isn't brought back out and re-experienced, and the arc of that event allowed to move through, the arc of the emotions or the arc of the trauma allowed to move through us, then it keeps talking, usually, until we listen. And it starts as a whisper and a nagging, and then the next thing you know, it's a scream. It's turning into something you just can't ignore anymore.
Yeah.
The body, it is magic, and I love that word, because the world is so magic, right? I mean,
it truly is. It truly is. When you can see and know that and feel it. And I mean, I'm really grateful. Like for me, my near-death experience was really that, like, my big awakening basically to all of that. And it's interesting because the subsequent ayahuasca ceremonies I did just brought me valid. They were like, oh, you're back here. But basically I was like, oh, okay, this is what I experienced. And it was similar, but still not the same, like that my near-death experience was. It took me kind of into similar realms, but it also confirmed, they were like, yeah, there's so much, and there is so much magic in this world. And now quantum physics and theory is proving it. I think miracles or magic are just things that can't be explained to people's comprehensions at this very moment. But just because it hasn't been scientifically proven, I think science is behind.
Yeah. And it was when we went from living in our bodies and experiencing the world around us and the energy around us, it used to be our ancestral knowledge held that this was commonplace. It was when we got up into our heads and we started believing the scientific dogma and went full materialist.
Yep.
We lost all of that ancestral knowledge. I mean, if you think about drum circles, like the medicine that happens when you're dancing to a rhythm in community, right? That is medicine. And I am so for bringing that back right now.
Yeah. When I lived in Miami, and I lived for 10 years, there was a lot of drum circles regularly, but especially the biggest ones were always the full moon beach drum circles. And literally people would come and it would be fire. There'd be people spinning fire. There'd be dancing. It's like transcendental experience. Talk about like movement medicine, just closing your eyes, hearing the drums, moving, sweating, everyone just kind of like feeling the beat. It's just so primal and tribal. And I think that's what we've lost as a society, because if you look at indigenous cultures, I mean, I just even think of like, even my ancestors, my lineage, it's still there. Like in the Philippines, they have festivals where they do drums, they do dancing, like dancing and drumming and vocalizing and singing is a part of our natural human nature. Like
Yes.
it truly is, and our bodies are now suffering because we've moved away from our natural states.
Yeah, I think especially for women that it is such an innate thing for us to sing and dance. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason we all love it, and even for those who are listening that are like, oh, I can't sing, I can't dance, I don't love it. I think underneath that, really deep inside of you, there's a little girl that does love it. I think it is so healing for us. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with the body now for a few years, really intentionally, and just recently have found the voice aspect of it. And now science is catching up to that as well. The
Mm-hmm.
vocalizations stimulate the vagus nerve and
Mm-hmm.
actually sending this signal of safety to your body, which it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, what have we been doing for thousands and thousands of years?
Mm-hmm.
Singing and dancing, drumming, moving around a fire. This is
Yeah.
in our DNA. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad right now. It's so exciting to be living in this day and age, in this time right now, because we are able to reconnect back and this on a global level to start to see the wisdom in these practices and bring them back. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I want to do in probably in an event that I'm doing in Miami is to do a Somarae like wellness event, but also like a drum circle. Cause it's just, I love it. It's like I said, time, like your body just like wants to really move. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so healing. It really is truly medicine.
it is. And the connection, this can only happen again in an in-person. I lived in Sarasota, so yeah, we're both in Florida. I lived in Sarasota and there were the huge beach drum circles there too. But when
Mm-hmm.
you experience these, you get into an energy where you are connected with everyone else in the drum circle. And
Mm-hmm.
the music actually moves through you in a way it's so
Yeah,
hard to describe. Like
it
unless you're
is.
there with 100 other people banging on drums around a fire in the middle of the night on the beach, it's really hard to like paint the full picture. But
Yeah.
there's an energy that connects you to everyone else. And it's almost like it moves through you. And yeah, it's magic. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why like also with rays with deep bass is because it mimics like the bass is like primal. It's like the heartbeat, it's like the first thing that is really formed in our human body is that heartbeat, and which is connected to our breath. Our breath is the first thing that enters our body when we come out into this world and the last thing that leaves us. Like it's so the the intelligence of all of it is just so beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. And these simple things, that are free, that are
Mm-hmm.
available to anyone. You don't need anybody else. And you really you don't need a guru. You have all of these things in your body. Although I will say
Yep.
it really does help to be a part of a community. I think your Somarae is going to be extremely helpful for this too, because finding the community and finding the tools, very helpful. But the thing that I love about these tools is all you need is yourself. It's
Yep.
completely autonomous. You can
Yeah.
turn to your breath, you can move your body, you know, you can access any of this at any time in
Mm-hmm.
any place as long as you don't mind looking like a weirdo if you're like in the line at the grocery store or whatever. Which I'm to the point where I don't care anymore.
I don't, even on my walks, I do like qigong moves in my walks. My partner sometimes like he does it, but he'll like, sometimes make fun of me when he actually just did it recently when I was cranky for my from just being on my moon cycle, and he was like, "Babe, do you need to shake? Do you need to just shake it off?" And I was like, "You're right, I do." And like he'll remind me, but yeah, I will like even in my walks in the park, I will do the arm shaking, like I don't care. Like if people think it's weird, like it makes me feel good in my body, and I've gone beyond what caring what people think. But yeah, my body now just like always wants to move. I have a rebounder behind me because in between calls, I like to just like move, the lymphatic system and just we need it.
Yep.
Yeah, we need
My
it.
trampoline is on the other side of my office door, actually. Oh gosh. Well, you touched on something that I would really like to bring up into this conversation, which is cycles. So
Hmm.
I have entered into my no fucks 40s, and I am absolutely loving it.
Hmm.
I am not claiming any perimenopause. I'm not sure. I have feelings about maybe not believing this is a thing. We'll see. Maybe in another 5 years, I might change my story. But yeah, I'm kind of so Kelly Brogan. I'm
Hmm.
kind of in the same mindset as her that like it's maybe not a real thing, and we just need to like be taking better care of ourselves. But that's like a whole other conversation. So tracking your cycle, and this is a part of Somarae also. So you can enter your information about your cycle, and the AI will like attune with that too. I haven't gotten super deep in it, but that practice, this is more ancestral wisdom that has been
Hmm.
kept from us by the patriarchal system. This is something
Hmm.
that every fucking woman should know. All
Yep.
of our daughters, I have 4 daughters. I'm, a huge advocate for teaching them starting at a very young age, but all of us should know about our cycles.
Yeah.
And I was in birth work. I have 5 children, born out of the medical industrial system, except for one
I
transferred to the
love that.
hospital. And I did a lot of study in birth work, and I was appalled at how much I did not know about my own body and of the
Hmm.
process of birth. It's the
Yeah.
same with our hormonal cycles, it's the same with our menstrual cycles. I mean, the more that I learn, the more I realize how much has been kept from us. That we
Hmm.
should have grandmothers and aunties and mothers and sisters that are imparting this knowledge. It should be commonplace for anyone who has a cycle to
Yeah. Yeah.
understand. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's really important to you as well.
Yes. So, I mean, it's nature. Our cycles are attuned to the moon. In many cultures, not just indigenous cultures, but present cultures now, we know that our bodies attune to the moon. Like women's bodies for so long were, especially in the Western world, like we weren't taught all of this. I think because I'm Asian, I kind of like had Eastern knowledge, which was more holistic. And then seeing it here, it just like does not make sense. Now that I'm so deep in all this work, like the fact that we're still trying to fit this linear one track thing into our day to day, that's the crazy part to me, not the part that I'm cycle syncing, talking about menstrual blood and all these things when people think that I'm crazy. Like, no, I'm not the crazy one. I'm like, you guys have been brainwashed to think that this is not normal. It's like, and when you lean into understanding your cycles and body, you have so much more forgiveness for yourself because our society tells us to push through when we shouldn't. And now there's so many more studies because really in the last 20 to 30 years, all the studies out there were only done on men. They did not want to do studies on women because they thought it was too complicated because of our menstrual cycles, not the fact that they wanted to study because the menstrual cycle was so important. They were like, nope, that's too many variables. Let's just only study men. And so now that we're finally doing studies on women and seeing like how, hormones affect all these things, like, yes, like this is so needed because we were been conditioned to fit into this patriarchal, very linear world when it goes against our bodies. It literally goes against our nature. And so it's like when you learn to cycle sync and lean into it, you have more grace with yourself. And one of the things I like to share with someone when they're new to cycle syncing, it's like you're like asking a tree in the dead of winter to bear you fruit.
Yes. Such a good analogy.
And they're like, oh, like, yes, we are. just like nature, we have seasons, we have cycles. And when you look at that, like, oh, this is that's what they go through. That's part of the cycle. Spring comes in, new birth, you have fruit, you shed, and then you go, and we're like, yeah, of course, we don't rush that. We respect it. We know that that's part of the cycles. Yet for our own bodies, what do? We mold and we fit it to always be producing fruit. It's very extractive. That's like very patriarchal to only give fruit, like only be young and lush and all this. We don't respect all the other parts of the cycle. And it's extractive. And our bodies are literally suffering because of that. And so when you start really learning more about your own cycles and attuning to that and living with that knowledge, so much changes. Like you're able to regulate your nervous system. You're able to give yourself more grace. And that was the hardest part for me, because also as an overachiever, and one that like thought my value was in how much I did, I would feel guilty right before for resting. And now I just know that I'm like, this is part. And I know when I do give myself this and rest and, feeding my body warm liquid and like knowing how to take care of it, I know that in my next cycle, my follicular and my ovulation, I'm able to have more energy, collapse time, do more things because I'm in that right cycle. There's so much. And I tie it to, like, in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a different way of eating according to your cycles too. There's certain wellness practices that, like, for example, cold plunging, they only did that study for men. And they started studies for women. Women actually should cold plunging is not a like, yes, this is all good for women. It's only good for certain parts of your cycle. So for your follicular ovulation, but when you're in luteal and like really going into your menstrual period, your body needs more warmth. You will actually increase your period symptoms. You can have more cramps because if you cold plunge, because your body's trying to warm you up to get ready for that shed, and you're like dousing it, your inner fire. And so it could hurt you more. It's more detrimental. So it's not really healthy. And now that they've done more studies on women, around 50 to 55 of a cold plunge is all you need. You don't need to go 40 or 35. But men can. Men actually can. They could cold plunge at any time, and they could go as low as 35. It actually helps them. But yeah, all of these things that it's just so different. And when we tune into our cycles and we know that we start learning all these things that go with our seasons, life flows better.
Yeah. And I actually learned the hard way. This is how I learned about cycle syncing. I learned the hard way because I did keto. Oh gosh, I think I started that about 5-6 years ago. And I didn't understand why sometimes keto was really awesome and sometimes I felt like shit. And then I got into fasting, and I did a 36-hour fast when I was in my luteal phase. And I got really bad detox symptoms coming off of it. I felt like shit. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, I am eating healthy and I'm clean. And like, so I started doing some more research. I found Mindy Pell's Fast Like a Girl. So I found Mindy Pell's work, and I was just mind blown. And I'm like, again, same with the birth stuff. Like, why don't I know this? Same with the cold plunge. I learned that around the same time. Why don't I know this? Because everything has been written for men. Everything has been written by men. Everything has been studied on men. And so all this information, and we think we're trying to, like with exercise, diet, nutrition, the fasting, the cold plunges, all of this. We think we're trying to, improve our lives, improve our health, take power and control over chronic condition, whatever the thing is. And so we're following this advice and it's not working for us. And it's like, what's wrong with me? Well, nothing's wrong with you. You're just cyclical. You're just not a man.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just so much. And I think that's why it's so important to learn these things, because once we do, and that's why I talk so openly about it, because at one point and I'm like, why don't we know that? I had the same reaction. Why aren't we taught these things? Why don't we know this? Oh my God. And that's how I started just sharing online years ago. I'm like, this is what I learned. This is what, like, because like our bodies are just so different. And when the more that we know and then we tune in and adapt, and now I'm learning more about also as we age, like bodies after 35 to 40, because before keto also used to work for me. And now when I do, like there's certain times in my cycle where I would just tune into my body. I'm like, nope, no fasting, no like eating more warm liquids, more protein. We need more protein as we get older. Weightlifting is so important. Like, putting pressure on our bones is so important for women because of, all the degenerative diseases of our bodies, especially if you have children, because you know, as you know, in the womb, they take your calcium
everything
from your
out
bones.
of you.
Yep. Literally. They form because they take all of you. So yeah, these are things that we just have to do differently, you know, as we also mature. And how our society also views menopause. Menopause is such a powerful time too that has been villainized as well. And I love also I'm turning 41 soon, but there was just something that lit up in me. It was actually my 40th birthday last year where I got the download about starting this tech app. And there's just something that I'm like, I just feel like I'm just getting started. It's like a renewed like energy. It's actually really awesome. I feel really good. I feel so much better now being in, you know, my 40s than in my 20s. Yeah.
I do too. And it's not just because the trauma symptoms have subsided, but I'm 42. I turned 42 this year, and it was around my 40th birthday where I had that same feeling. It was like, wow, this is the best I have ever felt. And that was when I decided to launch my podcast, decided to launch a coaching career, really just took back my power, because I was really fully like momming. It's like fully in that. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's time for me. Like, I felt that rebirth. And yeah, so I see this is another thing that society has really robbed from us. And I will say, I'm conspiracy theory minded. I will say these things have been kept from us on purpose. And it is part of an agenda.
I think it's a conspiracy. When people say I'm like, no, it's not. That's just common knowledge. Of course they have. They absolutely have. Literally, both church and state have purposely done this. And there are historical records of that, you know, which I can also talk a lot about that.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? We're at our hour. This could that is a whole other podcast, the witch wound and all of that. But yeah, this knowledge that we should have, that should have been passed down from our mothers and grandmothers, and it is hidden from us. And so that we are reclaiming it right now is so beautiful. And I'm so glad, especially as I said, having 4 daughters, to have been lucky enough to start to come across these threads and find these pieces and weave them together and have this understanding now that I could pass down to them, because I shouldn't have been in my 30s when I learned this stuff.
Yeah. I there's certain practices with my stepdaughter that we go through. Like, I'm like, okay, just let it go. Let the emotions go. There's things that before in the past, I would think like, no, we were so restricted. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, keep it in. And now it's like, all right, go cry it out. It's okay to cry. Just like, that's your body trying to release. Okay, shake it, let it out. And then let's hug. Let's co-regulate. She loves hugging. And these tools that we didn't have that now we can pass down.
And this would be another podcast episode too, but not to shame them for their sexuality and their expression and their sensuality, because I feel like that's another whole thing, you know, the shaming us for being in our bodies. No wonder we want to leave our bodies, because our bodies are shameful and bad and wrong, right? But moving into this, yes, I I missed that thread. We have been taught that moving into menopause is a bad thing. You lose your youth, you lose everything. That's it. It's downhill from there, right? Not true at all. The reason why we stop having a cycle is so that we can focus our attention on other things, because then it is
Mm-hmm.
our time for creation of things that are not children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so really it's like a rebirth of ourselves. Women are so magical. We have all these different portals, the Menarche portal, the birth portal, and now as we move into this next portal, like I'm actually excited. I'm still happy I have my cycle at this point, but I'm actually excited for that transition. And I don't see it as this like negative doomsday, like, oh, that's it. I'm over the hill.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. I'm like just getting started. I really feel that. Like, I feel like I'm just getting started. That was just the pregame, like really learning, gathering data. Now it's like, ooh, I'm in it. I have enough life experience. I'm open to still learning even more, but you can't fuck with me because I really don't care what you say. Like, the worst that can happen, already the worst, right? For me, it's like people are afraid of death. And there's only certain things that people are really afraid of. And I'm like, I already died. My family disowned me after I went public. Like, oh, what's stopping me? So yeah, like they're just this like feeling of like, you just really start living life more on your own terms. And it's very freeing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I think that's a perfect wrap. And I would love to talk to you again. This has been such a fun conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
I knew it was going to be. When you reached out and I like started researching you, I was like, oh yes, this is gonna be great. So anything that you would like to leave my audience with? If you have any last words, anything we didn't cover that you really just feel called to share, and then also before we close out, anything that you have upcoming. It'll be probably at least 6 weeks till this comes out, but anything, later on summer or whatever that you have upcoming, and ways people can get in touch with you, ways they can download the Somarae, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, really, imparting words is just, especially those who are starting, just slowly. It only takes 60 seconds, just a minute. Just start tuning into your body. Start listening more to your body. You don't have to have advanced practices. It doesn't need to take anything. Really, like all the tools, everything, like the magic is within you. It is you, So start slow. We may have to some people, we've talked about a lot of things, but also remember, like, we've been on this journey for a long time. Like, I also started somewhere where I'm like, what's a gratitude practice? And that was a big thing for me. But now all these practices, just years of really shifting into this way of life. And yeah, just listening to your body, tuning in, and then your body will tell you, and lead you to the next step. And for those who want to try Somarae, go to somarae.co. Somarae is SOMARAE.co. There's no M at the end. And I'm on all the social media. I'm very active in LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. We met on Threads. And yeah, I'm available. My DMs are open if you have any questions. And I would love to, I also do a lot of events that I post on my link. So I have a lot of online stuff, in person. I do have an in-person, it's called Savage Feminine Reclamation Retreat in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee in September. So September 21 to 26, we are almost half sold out. So if anyone is interested, you can DM me and we will share in a very whimsical, magical experience of all the things from great food to play to somatic stuff to time for relaxation and having fun. It's really the full spectrum of reclaiming all the parts of you. And all the wild, savage parts of you. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I really resonate with the title there. And I can hear the Kelly Brogan influence. Like it's so in me too. I mean, I have to say, like, when you said you were friends with her, like in real life, I had a little bit of like, oh. She's one of my I am obsessed with her. I have been. She's one of the people that's been super influential in my healing journey. I've done her programs. So yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I have her blogs. She was really supportive of like my in-person events. She went to a lot. She brought her daughters to it too, to some of my events in Miami because she moved to Miami. And yeah, she's amazing. I was also seeing her journey too, and how she's also learned, like it's beautiful. Like the more that we learn and we evolve, we share, and I love how she shares her journey from where she started to the evolution of it now. And so, yeah. She's an amazing person.
Yeah. Oh, so you as well. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a fun conversation. Want to dance with me? Go deeper with me? Have me in your back pocket, literally? Join the Ecstatic Life Academy on the Go Collab app. Link in show notes.